What's happening, everybody? Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily is back for you right here on WrestleTalk. I am being flanked by the man himself, WrestleTalk's own. He's homegrown, straight from the academy. Louis Dangoor, how are you, my man?
I'm good. Coming off a really good weekend of wrestling. A really good weekend. So, no, I'm good. I'm happy to be here with you. And, yeah, we're going to recap Full Gear. Going to talk about the biggest talking points in the news. There's a lot to cover today.
Yeah, there really is. There's a lot been going on. And I'm glad you said a good weekend of wrestling because, lest we forget, SmackDown put out another great episode. Yep. Japan as well. Suzuki up to his old tricks again. The man is stiff as a horse, but my God, he's doing it well. So some great stuff over there. But, of course, what has grabbed the headlines would be Full Gear. And I've said it on Twitter. I feel like it's on the podium of 2020 pay-per-views. So I'm sure we'll get into that and get some hot takes from you guys. Before we move into business, though, you know what I like. I like those super chats. Whatever the amount, bring them to the table. And myself and Louis will read them out. And, I've made this very, very clear, Lou. It's my favourite part of the show when guys get involved and track their opinions around. So please continue to be the good eggs that you all have been thus far. We really, really appreciate it. If you have missed anything, this is going to be a 5-show week, Lou, as it always is on pay-per-view. So feel free to catch up with us on podcasts. That's Apple, Acast, Spotify, the good and the bad and the ugly.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. You'll find us. You can't get enough of me. I've literally just come off radio at 9 o'clock with Talk Sport. We had Talk Wrestling tonight. And now I'm here with my guy, Louis, ready to do some Wrestling Daily. So I feel like we have to start with AEW, man. Before we get into the news, let's talk about what a great show Full Gear was. And we're going to run through it. Essentially, the way the card ran down, I feel like is the best because I know what we had on the pre-show of Serena Deeb, Alison Kay, you know, Serena looked made up, didn't she, afterwards, Lou? She came across the nicest person in the world in the media scrum. Yeah,
she was, every time someone asked a question, and so the way these work, if people don't know, so if someone's moderating, they'll go, oh, and Alex McCarthy, you're next up, or Alex McCarthy if you talk about whatever. And every time they'd ask the question, she'd be like, oh, thank you so much. And then the person's name for the question. It was honestly, you could tell she was happy to be there, happy to chat to us, which was really nice to see. And I get the same vibe from Tony Khan, to be honest. He's always, I don't ever think I've been on one of those calls where he hasn't eventually been like to the person moderating it, oh, keep him coming, don't worry. I don't have to take me away. I want to answer as many as possible. So it was actually a great time had by all. I really enjoyed it. And I didn't mess up with the mute button this time.
No, I noticed because you went after me with Moxley, didn't you? And Moxley, by the way, gave me like a great 5-minute answer.
You stole my question.
Because when you came in next and you asked him about Omega, like as soon as he went, yeah, well, I don't want to give too much away. I was like, come on, Mox. But man,
I was literally like I had to go back and listen to what he told you because I was not paying any attention. I was like, right, I need to think of a new question now because the one I planned is gone.
That's always the worst thing, man, about the scrums and the conferences and things like that. But yeah, you're right about Tony Khan as well. Like you can just tell that he's so buzzing. Like after a great show, it must feel great for him. I didn't get to speak to him on the call, but I did message him after and just told him that I thought it was my favorite AEW show thus far. We had a little discussion about that, and he was super receptive, as you'd imagine he would be if someone told him what he just did was great. So yeah, man. Without further ado, let's get into the card because I can already see the first super chat. So I will get to that in a moment. But Omega and Page now. I'm going to give you room to breathe here, Lou, to let you have your review. But all I will say is I felt like this was a fantastic kind of 4-star, maybe upwards than that match where they clearly left room for what's to come. And that is scary to think that they've got gears to go up from there because, my God, it was good.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked how, and I know Luke and Ollie have said this in their respective reviews and on their podcast today, but it didn't feel like a blood feud, which was perfect. It felt like, listen, we've come about by a tournament. It's not by sort of, we want to fight each other. It's by happenstance that they've been forced to wrestle together. So following on from that, the match was fantastic. The in-ring action was great, but it was good enough that it was sort of a very good match, but never felt like everything was being given away, which was perfect. I think that the big pop is going to come when Paige eventually kicks out of the one-winged angel. He didn't here, which is good. I'm happy he didn't. And yeah, I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks worth of, a couple of months even worth of TV. And I'm sure we haven't seen the last of these two wrestling for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think Omega definitely, delivered again with Paige. I felt like they both came out smelling the roses. Now, despite the result, I thought it was really, really good. And like I said, you could tell that it wasn't like balls out. It wasn't like all they had. So that was also cool as well. Like, just to think, man, the story's got legs. I think, of course, I've said this before, man. Omega is to me, he's the guy who has to beat Moxley, right? And then you get the full story circle with Paige.
Yeah.
If it's predictable, it doesn't matter if it's done well. And so far, this has been done really, really well. Uptown Elvindale. Alex has a goatee. Goatees are chin only. Listen,
hang on. Look at this. So Andy Datson, let me just try and find it. Where is it? He said, if you add your facial hair together, we have a full goatee.
This is true. Although, I have mine for a reason, because I have like a scar that I actually gathered here from football literally about 6 months ago.
I remember you putting the picture on Twitter. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I stooped to win a header, and then the fullback came round and like literally just punted me, and it just made a massive hole in my chin. I think it took like 9 stitches or something to cover. So like, there's just like a line that goes there. That's the only reason I have this. There's no other reason to have this at all. And of course, Louis. Well, thank you, brother. Louis actually has a good reason for his. So
yeah, I'm doing November.
Exactly, and that is a good point to bring this up from Mod Mother Lady Lou, who says Louis is taking part in November this month to raise money for men's health. If you would like to donate, you can do so right here. So there you go, guys. Now moving on. I think we should get to the tag match. We are going to touch on the others, but I want to traverse it in a way where we touch the biggest talking points first. And that brings us to our first super chat, really, from Matty, who says, Full Gear was insane. Young Bucks and FTR. Wow, wow, wow. I will have my say after. I'm going to let Louis go first, though, because I know he's just begging to wax lyrical about this tag match.
This was so good. Like, I think I even texted you during the match. I was like, this is good. I loved it. It was everything I wanted it to be and more. Cash told me it was a love letter to tag wrestling, and with all the spots that they were doing, FTR doing sort of the moves from the wrestlers of the 80s and early 90s, the Young Bucks doing the moves of wrestlers like the 3D and the Twist of Fate from wrestlers from the late 90s and early 2000s. It was perfect. And the finish was genius, like genius. When you talk about that 450 from Cash Wheeler, that was very impressive, by the way, that no one thought he'd do. They went against their motto. They did the flip and it didn't work out. But damn, this was so good. Like so good. I really liked it. Yeah, I think
really?
I think legitimately this is better than the Revolution match. I think this is the best match that AEW has ever put on. Revolution was, and I think even FDR said this to you, it was a great 4-person match.
Mm-hmm.
This was a great tag match. Like, it felt like a tag match, if that makes any sense at all. But listen, both were fantastic. Both were genuinely sensational and will probably be one and two for match of the year, without question. But this I loved, and I don't know whether it's because I am such an FTR fan, but I really, really like this, and I thought it was better than Revolution. That's how high the praise is for me.
There's nothing wrong with being a fan, my friend. That's the whole point, right? The whole reason we're here is because we're fans in the first place. For me, I echo what you say about the finish. I just thought it was amazing because I didn't see it coming, and there's nothing better than that in wrestling when you can't actually predict what's going to happen. I didn't see Cash Wheeler, a flip, but much less a 450 out of the bag, and then he comes up short.
And a good one, and a really good one.
Very, very good one. Perfect landing. So pulling that out of the bag, yeah, that had me from the jump. I thought the match was great. I don't think it's the best ever, like in terms of AEW. Like for me, it's like a upwards of 4-star, probably maybe even. I'm not going to commit, but around that region, upwards. I thought the homage. I like personally the same way I liked Edge and Orton's kind of homages. I loved the tag team homages, but I don't know if that actually correlates or equates to like a great original match. It's fun for me to watch, but I don't know if that is. Maybe
for me, it worked so well because
there was a lot of it though, a lot of it.
But the moves they did suited like the wrestlers that they were basically doing, like basically suited them. So Hardys and Young Bucks are very similar in their sort of high spot, like wrestling style.
Well, the Young Bucks have said before that the Hardys are like,
but by that I mean I think it worked in terms of the story because the moves they were doing were based on. So the whole match was based on the philosophy of tag wrestling. Is it the high spots or is it like the ground and pound, like on the mat style? So when they did the moves that basically correlated to that, so the Young Bucks did the high flying like teams moves, or the teams that did the high spots like the Dudleys, like the Hardys, and then you got basically the opposite with FTR. I think it really worked for the story because it isn't just Young Bucks versus FTR this feud. It is what is the correct philosophy of tag team wrestling, and there isn't one. But I loved it. I could talk about this match for ages, even from the small things. Like at the end, Matt Jackson wasn't holding the tag rope when he tagged in for the win. So based on FTR's rules, where I think they said at the beginning of their run that all the rules you have to hold the tag rope, is their win not legitimate?
Well, by AEW rules it is, because we know that there aren't very much rules. But I mean, I'm with you. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great. Like I sat there, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I mean, if I have to be like, ultra analysis, like that's kind of the point. I would say that maybe there was like too much of that where it's just kind of like there was a period in the match of that where I was like, wow, like I was really enjoying it, but at the same time I was like, that's a lot. And then it becomes like a tribute match rather than the match almost. But like I said, the action throughout amazing. The finish was just great. I loved it. I can't stress that enough. I loved it. And I loved as well the closing shots where you've got Hangman lurking. He's lurking at the top of the ramp while Kenny Omega is celebrating with the Young Bucks. A couple of thoughts on this. For me, the Young Bucks are like the common denominator here, and people need to give them more respect. They had the great match in Revolution, of course, and they've done it again here. For years, I've read people calling them spot monkeys, and they don't tell a story. All things like that. It's rubbish. They do. I read as well, I think during the match on Twitter, that they don't sell for anyone. I mean, come on, guys. Like, Young Bucks deserve a lot more respect than that. I think they're probably the best tag team. I was about to say of their generation, but that's kind of where FTR come in too, because you can make the argument that they are. So that's why this is so intriguing. And they knocked it out of the park. For me, I agree with what FTR said and what you said about the differences in the matches. Yeah. I do agree with that. I still think I preferred Revolution, though. If we just literally stood them from an entertainment value side by side, I think Revolution still is my favorite, and I still think Cody and Dustin is my favorite.
We'll get on to that. Because I have watched it, and I know Dan's already in with the super chat about this. Mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if my opinion's changed.
I mean, I've phrased that specifically. It's my favorite AEW match.
Yeah.
Whether you say it's the best or not is up for debate, but to me, that's what I enjoyed the most. So, I suppose we should do
and actually, before that, Matt Jackson told us on the media, I think Sean asked the question, He wrestled the match with a partially torn
MCL,
and then
thinning,
which they classify as a partial tear. So, I mean, you talk about wrestling that caliber of match with a torn MCL and a partially torn ACL. Massively hats off to the guy, because that's incredible.
I legitimately don't know how he's doing it. Like,
and on the media call, when he was like, "Oh, yeah, I heard it a couple of years ago, 2008." So I was like, "You've been wrestling with a partially torn ACL for over 10 years."
Yeah, like
crazy.
I told you, I had that knee injury recently. I think it was just a slight tear on my MCL. I think the not anterior, whatever the other one is, and that had me like dead for 9 weeks. So I don't know how he's physically getting through it, but there you have it. Let's move on to Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes. Again, loved it. The outcome kind of needed to happen, I guess, because you can't have Darby just lose the whole series. So happy to see him get his moment. People argued that it was overbooked after that with Team Taz and everything that happened after that. But, I mean, I thought it was good fun. I just love watching Cody. I can't help it.
I was waiting for Sting in this match. The post-match was... So the post-match bit was Will Hobbs coming down to make the save.
Yes.
They were hype. So when you're hyping up, and they were doing this, they stopped it towards the end, but they were hyping up a big reveal, like a big surprise. So my mind at that point is going, all right, there's got to be something here. There's got to be a surprise. And I thought it was going to be in this match. I thought, all right, coming out from this, when that sort of the beatdown's happening, Cody's been taken out. It's a 2-on-1. They look like they're going to do the thing on the chair with the car. I'm like, all right, the reveal's coming. And it didn't. And Will Hobbs felt kind of flat for me, but they've clearly got plans for him, and there's nothing against him personally. I just don't think it was the right spot to do when many fans online had been speculating that you were going to see Sting nonetheless in that match. I know that AEW shouldn't pander to the fans' expectations when literally AEW has given us no indication that Sting's coming, but I think you have to be slightly aware of the fact that fans will have thought that, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one thinking, all right, there's something big going to be here, and it wasn't big. And I think the issue with this is because the card was so stacked, this match didn't feel like a massive deal. Darby's win wasn't the first, second, or even third thing on my mind after the pay-per-view, which is testament to how stacked it was, but it does kind of deflate it for Darby. But I'm really excited for him. He's a fantastic worker. This is what the TNT title should be, giving young guys like him a go. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope we see some great progression on Dynamite and, see where the story goes next.
Yeah, absolutely. The sky is the limit for Darby, and it's clear that Cody and Tony Khan are super high on that guy. So I would only expect more big things for him moving forward. One of the other big four was MJF and Chris Jericho. For me, when you talk about the in-ring component of it, it was solid. It was good. It had Jericho showing his agility that he still got, and MJF working smart. To me, the biggest story of this match, right, was MJF's character. It was showing that he is cunning. He is willing to do what it takes to get ahead, to win. He's cerebral. He can outthink and outsmart Jericho, which is a subtle underlying thing, because he's going to do that from inside the inner circle now. And that's where the story gets really interesting. And Jericho almost had that like dawning moment after the match where it was like, I may have kind of met my match here. Like, this is like a young, more, better version of me currently right there staring me in the face. So I think that was, to me, the story element of this made me like gripped to this match. And as it always does with Jericho and MJF, him and Wardlow now in the inner circle.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it was the right match as well, because it isn't a blood feud. They've not been feuding. They're both heels. They're going to be stable mates. You don't kind of want to go out there and have them kill each other. But I did like this. I thought it was great for what the story was, great for what they were trying to get across. I did really like it. I thought that this was great. But I mean, I'm more excited coming out of the match for the funny skits that we're inevitably going to get from MJF, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, everyone involved. I think we were in for a real treat for the next few weeks of Dynamite.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the stories at the top of the card, right? Omega Page, and that's obviously going to lead into Moxley and MJF in the inner circle. That's enough to keep me coming back every single Wednesday without a doubt. No doubt. They're knocking it out of the park with those two. Before we get to Kingston and Moxley, let's take a quick check of the super chats. So, Mayor of Painesville, Dan, let's start with that. So I heard Louis, hang on, has been bashing Dustin versus Cody again. I had to come back to have a say on that one. It is the best match ever, he says. By a landslide, I cried. Listen, I'm going to let Louis have his chance here, but you know my feelings on this match. I feel I made this very clear last week that the very real elements that come along with this and what they had to prove after WWE said this match was not good enough, they absolutely proved it. And the emotion in the match and the post-match, which, you know, is just as valuable, made it an absolute contender for match of the year at the time. And I still haven't seen a match that made me feel as much in AEW as that match. Louis, your rebuttal.
So I watched this on Sunday again. I thought, okay, there's something I'm missing because everyone is waxing lyrical about this match. There must be something that I missed. Maybe I was shattered when I was watching it and just didn't get to soak it all in. So I rewatched it. It is very, very, it's better than I remember it considerably. It is very, very good match. I also watch Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels because
why do you keep doing this? Why are you comparing Michaels and Taker as the yardstick for Cody and Dustin?
I'm about to sum up your point. It was because I said it was considerably more emotional last time. It's not.
Right.
Cody versus Dustin is more emotional. The post-match segment is possibly one of the best post-wrestling match segments when he's like, I don't need a tag partner, I need a brother. Like, I don't think you can rival that.
Oh, right there. Right there it was.
I will concede it probably is a 5-star match.
Oh, it's come around.
I know, because I even text you saying I don't think it is. I think it is a 5-star match now. I have come around. It was fantastic. It is one thing when, I guess, recency bias where you probably think like the post match is more emotional than anything than the post. I'd say that it was very good. The post match is more emotional than anything I've seen. It was very, very good.
But the post match only means as much because of the match. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it all ends up. My only problem with what you had to say, and this is why I went back to Michaels and Taker, was like you can that doesn't because that's 5-star doesn't mean like nothing else can be.
No,
and that's of course only Dave Meltzer's opinion as well. Like for us to be like, in my opinion, they're two kind of totally different matches in terms of how they play out. And for me, they both live in that great rarefied era, you know, that you would class as a 5-star. I don't think that you have to kind of hold one to the other was my take.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very good match. I will concede it is 5 stars. I have been converted by the Wrestling Daily faithful.
Well, listen, it takes a big man to do that, as I had to concede to SB3 last week, which I know he's still relishing, and I've seen him in the comments, the little weasel. So sometimes you've got to do it. You know, this is one of the main problems with Twitter, I think, in this day and age, is that nobody wants to be wrong. So even when you think, you know, actually that person's got a good point, but no one wants to admit it. So that's okay. It's what we do at the Wrestling Daily.
I thought it was fantastic. So I really liked it. I did like it. The crowd massively helped, though. I will say that the crowd was so hot throughout. It was great.
And I think maybe that's why I remember it so well, because I was in that crowd.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's so fun to me. But then you'd expect as much, right? Moving on to a couple of other super chats before we have to revert to Moxley. God, the chat is moving so fast tonight, I can barely keep up with them. Injection 2K says, did you like the promo I did on Twitter, Louis?
I did. It's coming tomorrow. There's a hot take in there from Injection 2K, and he's done it in the style of a promo.
Oh, he's cutting promos on us now.
He's cutting promos on us. So, that will be in tomorrow.
The Zornice says, what's more fun to recap, a good or a bad show? I'll start with that. A good show. I take no pleasure in tearing something down. I would like to, look at things in the most positive light possible. I want to enjoy things. It's weird to want to be here and, produce all this negativity. And I think there's too much of that in wrestling, actually, where people kind of like profit and get views from slamming and slandering. Okay, people seem to like that, but I like to live on the other end of the spectrum. I'd much rather celebrate something than pan it. That doesn't mean I won't pan it if it's bad, because sometimes it is bad. But I always try and objectively look at things in a positive light. Lou?
Yeah, I'm the same. It's always much easier to review a negative show because it's easy to be negative. But reviewing, I come away much more positive reviewing a positive show, and that's what I like. At the end of the day, we might be journalists or whatever we call ourselves, but we'll call you a journalist. I don't know what we're calling me yet, but yeah. At the end of the day, we're still fans, so we still like watching good shows.
Absolutely. And CM Chris, he says Full Gear was so good. I don't think there was really a bad match on the card, in my opinion. P.S. You both are lucky devils talking to Mox. Hashtag good egg. Hashtag WD. CM Chris, we appreciate you on this show, brother. One of my favorites. Yes, we are lucky. For me, obviously, Louis wanted the question that I did, but he just went for 5 minutes, just went off about how much he loved working with Kingston and how much he enjoyed the story, how it all came about. It was basically like a reporter's dream. He just literally laid it all out. So that was great.
You can tell he was genuinely passionate about working with him too. He basically, for those that don't know, I think you've listed it all down, but roughly, he basically once the Lance Archer thing came about, he was like, listen, I want this to go to Kingston. All came to be, and it was absolutely brilliant what they were able to produce together, which we'll get into talking about. And it is nice to see someone so passionate about the work that they do. And WWE guys might be as well, and I'm sure they are. We just don't get to see it in the same way. Like we had him half an hour after his match, about half an hour. So you're seeing someone that soon after their match, you're getting their real emotion. And you being the first question to ask that was fitting because he literally was just saying exactly how he felt, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and Louis is right on that. For anyone who doesn't know, AEW scrums, that's how they work. Like, I was there obviously at Double or Nothing, and then they lead you to this room, like literally directly after the show, and then the talent just come flooding in, like in a revolving door from there on. And that first one we had like Jericho, I think Dustin Rhodes, Tony Khan, Britt Baker, I think
Hangman there, or was that
Hangman was there? Hangman was there. The Bucks were there. God, there was so many on that night, and like I just remember being there, and so there was like the who's who of wrestling journalists were there. Journalists was there. Like Sean Ross Sapp was there, Ryan Satin was there, Dave Meltzer was there, Bill Apter was there, Kenny McIntosh was there, and Mark Henry was there for Busted Open. So when they come in, it's a jostling process to get to where the talent are moving to, because there's like you can see boards behind Louis and I now. There's like 3 of them in a room, and the talent go there, and you have to quickly get in and be like, oh, can I get the question? Mark Henry was just sauntering over and like basically moving everyone out of the way because he is enormous in real life. So I'm glad I haven't had to do any more media scrums with Mark Henry. Anyway.
Although I would like to be back at shows. I actually haven't been to an AEW show live. So
wow.
Hopefully once the world stops ending, we'll get out there.
Yeah.
We'll have a Wrestling Daily live, me and you together in the States.
We will. We absolutely will. I can't wait for that again. I'm hoping this vaccine they're talking about is going to lead to something great. I'm hoping.
Fingers crossed. Crossed.
Who knows? Anyway, the point of that super chat actually leads us greatly into Moxley and Kingston. So let's dive into that quick. I thought the build for this was sensational. From kind of nothing in 4 weeks to where we got, it was as hot as a world title match you could have hoped for. I thought Moxley and Kingston knocked out their promos out of the park. And as Moxley said in the interview to me after the show, there was lots of callbacks within that, like at the end where, Moxley is saying to him, you have to give up. There is no way out. And then, not MJF, Kingston like flips him the bird the same way they did as a callback earlier with the attacks that Moxley did to him. So good. I thought the action was, brutal. What I expect from Moxley and Kingston, and then you get barbed wire, you get thumbtacks in his head, by the way, thumbtacks in his goddamn head. I've seen worse, but at the same time, I was thoroughly entertained with the match. I'm always kind of a sucker. You get all these people out here like wrestling purists, and I like mat wrestling as anyone, but I'm a bit of a sucker for the violence and gore as well. So for me, I thought it was great. Again, another 4-star upwards match and a great main event to cap off a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, brilliant. Eddie Kingston lost nothing in defeat. He was crying when he lost, but I didn't feel from the pain. I felt more from just like the embarrassment the embarrassment of having to say I quit and like not being able to go home with the title. Like it's absolutely brilliant. Like the story was fantastic. The everything was fantastic. So yeah, it was a great stuff. Kingston lost nothing in defeat, and I think he'll be one. I think he's proved more than enough to those within AEW that he is more than capable of main eventing shows and being at the top of the card. So I don't think this is the last we're going to see of him at the top of pay-per-views.
Yeah, just a quick shout out from the rest of the card before we move on to some news and super chats. For me, I thought the women's match was decent, I would call it. Not anything special. I thought it was, decent. It kept the pace of the show going. I still think Shida's best match in AEW was with Penelope Ford, and I don't think that's changed with Nyla Rose. The John Silver Orange Cassidy match. I don't know if this is a hot take that people might take offense with in the comments. I prefer John Silver to Orange Cassidy. I'm a bigger fan of John Silver. I feel like he looked great in that outing. Out of the two of them, John Silver was the one that shone for me, Lou.
But I think that's what it was about. We already know what Orange Cassidy can do on the pay-per-view stage. We don't know yet what John Silver can do. I actually think both are fantastic wrestlers. John Silver's kicks. We saw Bobby Fish on Twitter this week.
Yes.
I think he was like, you look at his kicking technique and John Silver does it perfectly. He's like the way he rotates his hip, extends his leg, the contact with the shin. Which, it's really good. Like, I liked it. I really like John Silver. I think he's been the star of being the elite, which is very funny. I think it's fantastic. So, I liked this match. Thought it was very good. As we'll get on to talking with a different match, I think this match should have gone on. Actually, ignore that. Okay, we'll talk about it now. I didn't like the Elite Deletion match. I think this would have served as the better comedic relief after the match with the FTR and the Young Bucks. I thought the Elite Deletion match was slightly too long. I hated the spot where they basically did a callback to the concussion spot from All Out. I hated that. I'm like, you do callbacks to stuff. Not a very serious incident that got the company quite a lot of heat. I didn't think that was right. I liked it for what it was. Actually, I didn't like it. I don't know why I said that. I thought it was, I get about overbooked, but there was too much going on. Like, why the hell was Gangrel there?
Why not? He said that he was the mentor for Matt Hardy early on, which he was. When the Hardy Boys came under his tenure and they made the New Brood, and he said he was Sammy Guevara's mentor. So that explains itself. He said this.
I know, but like,
you're searching for reasons. I can see the cogs turning in your brain why you don't like this match.
It was I think it was because I came off such a high from the Young Bucks FTR. I was just like,
yeah, I can understand it. I mean, for me,
I think it's also based on the fact that this feud should have ended months ago.
Well, yeah, but we know why it didn't though. Because it never really got to. But I think that it was actually, I thought it actually did a very good job in the role that it was in. Like, for the place it was in the card, I liked it very much. The Hurricane stuff was tremendous with the Lake and Reincarnation, and then, he comes back out as the reporter and stuff. I loved it. I actually thought it was kind of cool that Private Party and Proud and Powerful got involved and they had their moments and got some rub that way. The only thing that was a little jarring was how it kind of went from comedy, and there was like the fireworks shootout and the mud show and whatever, like the callbacks to Cornette and the this is long time storytelling that was a shot at WWE, and that was all really funny, and I was really engaged. Just like I was finding that very amusing, and then it kind of like as soon as he shuts himself in the redemption, I don't know, I can't remember what you call it, deletion, whatever. Then it got really serious and really brutal. Quite frankly.
The dome of deletion, I think. There
you go. Right. So that was a little bit like, whoa, okay, we're stepping up a gear here. But at the same time, I was okay with it as well because they had to, tie a bow on the feud, and that's what they wanted to do. So again, I think if you like Matt Hardy and what he does in those creative roles, then you'll enjoy that. And I did enjoy it. I'm not going to say it's a classic or it's going to live like really long in the memory or it's even the best deletion match, but I do think it was good. I think it served its purpose on the card.
And
so
JR also loved this match on commentary.
Almost as much as he loved the weather.
Oh my God. JR hated this.
Yeah,
he absolutely hated it. This was salty JR at his best because he was on fire at other points of the show. But this, when he was like, this is Gangrel, otherwise known as David Heath. I think that might have been a bit of a copyright thing, maybe. Maybe like that's what I got from it. It was so.
I don't know. I think
but it was so random that it can't not have been.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Weird. It's like why? Like you don't go. They're not a Survivor Series. Michael Cole gonna go. Oh, that's the Undertaker, otherwise known as Mark Calloway.
No, I get it, but I don't know if he's on the Independence as Gangrel. I feel like I've seen him on the Independence as Gangrel.
Yeah, maybe he's not allowed to do TV.
Yeah, who knows? We don't really know on that one. Anyway, to sum up, for AEW, we've run through the card there, and we do have some other stuff to get into. To me, it's a podium pay-per-view. It's in the top 3 of 2020. I do think WWE had an amazing stretch at the Thunderdome. Their last 3 or 4 pay-per-views have been great for my money. But Retribution. Come on now.
We'll get on to them.
Yeah, Revolution and Full Gear for me, along with Royal Rumble, probably. Yeah, there's a couple of WWE ones in there, and a Takeover as well. Portland was great. Oh man, there's a few. Like they're all up there. They're in that conversation. But I do think top 3, I would put Full Gear. I was just very entertained from start to finish.
Yeah, and this had more work against it, obviously, with the fact that there was a very limited crowd, considering like Revolution had 15 times, like considerably more crowd than AEW did.
I'm just trying to do the maths in my head.
Yeah, what's the maths? I can't be bothered to work.
Too much. I want to eat in maths. We don't need that. Listen,
I wasn't that bad, but yeah, I think that worked. That helped it. But Full Gear, the fact that it was such a great show without that, and people are even considering it being the best pay-per-view of the year without having a full crowd there, just goes to show how fantastic it was. And I think this is a pay-per-view that if you want to show someone an AEW show, because they do often drag their pay-per-views, this didn't. So show them this.
Absolutely. Let's move back onto the super chats because we've got a few in the chamber. Bo Hill, another good friend of the show. My man, how are you? FDR Young Bucks match was great. From the gear, Lakers flashy versus Celtics fundamentals, other teams moves used, Hardy, Hart, Dudley, Steiners, and the callback to great career moments, DIY spot. I know we've talked about
that. I forgot.
I know we've talked about this a little bit, Bo, already in terms of the tag match, but the meet in the middle was bloody great.
I loved the meet in the middle, especially after what they told you. I actually think you kind of helped the build for that match. I
planted the seed, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure Dax and Cash came off the call and they were like, hey, we forgot. Should we put that in? But no, I think I even tweeted you. That helped because I wouldn't have had the same effect in my mind if I didn't think about it that way. But I think because I know from what they told me and what they told you, how much that they liked their feud with DIY, that it just added to it. And you're like, okay, this is really good.
Absolutely. Moving on, we've got from Christopher Jazzcat. The only deletion thing I didn't like was Salty JR. Well, you've got a friend in Louis.
He was very salty. He was. I needed some water after listening to him because he was salty AF.
Does water wash down salt?
Yeah, I feel like salt makes you thirsty.
Probably. I'll give you that. Christopher Jazzcat A again. How's Sammy's health? It looked stiff as a horse. I don't know.
It was filmed before Dynamite, so
yeah, it was filmed early in the week.
Catastrophic.
I know that he's meant to be there at Dynamite on Wednesday for this Inner Circle induction for MJF, and Tony Khan didn't report any injuries after the show. So although we don't officially know, we can only assume all is well there. Although I did message Matt Hardy after I watched it to tell him, that I thought it was a good job and whatnot, and he didn't report back anything terrible going wrong. And it was, I think, because that was one of the things I said to him. It was nice to actually make it happen and no one dead. So yeah, there you go. We have to assume that Sammy is okay. Moving on, we've got Jobber JJ, another good friend of the show, and WrestleTalk, full stop, to be honest. Suzuki, stiff as a horse, as Tempest has in his room. Well, good luck to Tempest, by the way, as he comes for Sean Ross Sapp's crown on Wednesday, Louis.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, because it's not your crown anymore. I understand that.
I don't want to talk about it.
Are we just going to ignore this?
Yeah, we are. We're not talking about Quizlemania. It's an injustice. I was screwed. But no, good luck to Tempest. Bring it home for WrestleTalk. Because there's no Mr. Davis, we have no chance with. We might as well have Tempest dog Chelsea in instead, because there is zero chance.
Listen,
Ollie will bring it home.
This is a dog-friendly show. As we know, dogs are more over than people on this show, and I would not be opposed to the dog getting the mantle. Let him have a run, Lou.
Yeah, no, give it to, I think, a tag team run. Tempest and Chelsea the dog. I want to see it. I do the job for those two. I think me and you would do that. We'd rig it so they won if we.
I would give them the rub of a lifetime.
We would.
Hangman aligning but not joining the Dark Order is the best course of action for the story up to this point to try and get noticed by the Elite. Injection 2K once again coming through with the super chat, and he believes Hangman should be joining the Dark Order. Lou? He's thinking about it. All right.
Yeah. Listen, whatever AEW does, I trust, because they have more than showed their ability to book this story well. So whatever they've got planned, if it's with the Dark Order, then fantastic. I think you'd have some great matches there. But yeah, let's see where this goes, because I think AEW has more than earned our trust.
Rianne Nocta says, our Irish friend, I don't know if you guys follow the election, but I'm trying to decide who is the best John Silver or John King from CNN. Full Gear was great. No, I didn't really follow the election. Not that closely anyway, where I was watching CNN.
I did, but I wasn't watching CNN.
No. So John Silver by default.
Yep, John Silver by default.
And Alistair Gammond. Hello, my friend. I believe it's your first time, maybe dropping in a super chat here. We welcome you. Is this now the end of Sammy's punishment? In brackets, Banks, obviously referring to the just poor joke that he made about Banks. I honestly think the time away was all that AEW really gave him in terms of a punishment. I don't think this Matt Hardy feud is a punishment. Don't know what you think about that, Lou.
Yeah, I don't think it's a punishment. I think AEW is a sort of company, and they have shown with other people that if you're being punished, you're not on TV. So I think if there was going to be a punishment, it would be him not being on TV. I don't think anyone is being punished by having consistently wrestling on Dynamite, consistently being on pay-per-views. I don't think that that's a punishment in anyone's eyes.
Yeah, that's true. Bring on the doggies, says Elizabeth Stallion, returning super chatter. Nice to see you, Elizabeth. Team Doggo. Do you know what? Total parlay here. I took my mum-in-law's dog for a walk with my daughters.
I saw this
on was it yesterday or Saturday? One of the two. And Saturday, in fact. And that's how much I'm dog broody right now. I really, really want a dog, but they cost an absolute bomb because of lockdown. So I'm basically, if you want to follow me on Instagram walking other people's dogs, $50 feel free for that.
Well, when Agnes go on holiday, my family goes, we'll give you the dog. We'll give you Harvey.
I would love your dog. That is a great dog. Right, let's get into some news because we have a habit of not getting into our news. We're going to start with what FDR told me last week, Lou. So essentially, I asked them a little bit about leaving WWE and the fact that their best times in WWE, and this is my opinion here, but this is what I said to them, were in NXT. They had multiple classics, American Alpha and DIY and people like that, even AOP as well. I mean, I was in Orlando when I saw them at TakeOver do a three-way with those two teams. Unbelievable. And I just said, was there a little part of you that looked at NXT as you were leaving and thought, actually, maybe we could go back there? And they did admit that Triple H had talks with them. He did try to persuade them to stay. He made them offers, they went as far to say, but they felt that they had run their course with WWE. Now, knowing what we know now, I think that was the right decision, Lou.
Yeah, I do agree. Looking at the state of NXT's tag division, I think if it's in a different position with the likes of DIY still in there, with American Alpha. But NXT's tag division isn't great right now, and you can argue that a team like FTR would have helped that. They undoubtedly would have, but I think they definitely made the right decision by going to AEW. But this isn't the first person that's tried to leave that has been offered a role in NXT. I believe Matt Hardy was offered the same thing, or it was reported as such. I think PW Insider was reporting that. So before he left. So it clearly shows that WWE knows that talent do obviously like NXT, and that everyone sees it as enjoys their time there or wants to work there. I'm sure Triple H said it multiple times. He fields calls on a daily, weekly basis from people saying, hey, can I come back and do some work with NXT, or can I do some work? I think Kevin Owens is culprit number one for that.
He also says that Drew McIntyre, before all of this happened, used to ring him about NXT UK all the time.
One of the matches, Walter. Yeah, I think that you've definitely got a lot of possibilities with talent like that. We've seen it with Finn. We've seen it with Ember Moon. But yeah, I do think FTR made the right call by doing this, by going to AEW. You can tell the match they had this weekend speaks volumes for the talent that they've showed.
And Enrique Juarez Gil says, support Wrestle 2. And we wholeheartedly encourage that. Please go share, like, subscribe to the channel. We're now north of 30K. On that note, I think Triple H obviously adored, he has a lot of talent that he gets deeply affectionate for because of what they do for him on takeovers and the shows. And then they go to the main roster, and unfortunately, it's out of his hands. Despite what most people think, once Vince takes them,
so bad for him.
Yeah, once Vince takes his creations, that he works very hard to get people up to, unfortunately.
It's actually like, if I give you a painting, I've worked for hours on it, months, years, give you this painting, and you just get it.
And then I finger paint it.
Just piss on it. Just piss all over it.
Wipe it out, take a piss on it. All right.
And then sometimes they give it back to you, but it's not quite the same as what it was before. You try and do some sort of like damage limitation and wipe it away.
There's still the sketch.
You can still smell the piss that you've done on the painting. That's how I feel for Triple H. Poor guy.
Right, well, pardon me for giving myself a green BSometer because I got it from the horse's mouth. So I can tell you it is true indeed.
The ego on this man.
I know. I'm power hungry. Retribution, you mentioned them earlier. I don't know how much more I really want to talk about them, but there is an interesting tidbit of news from Mercedes Martinez's corner, Lou.
Yeah, so Mercedes Martinez wasn't in the obviously was in Retribution to start, but then was dropped, or otherwise known as Retaliation. Stupid name. So Fightful Select is reporting that Mercedes actually went to WWE and said, I don't want to be part of the group when it came to renewing the contract. Which,
really?
to be honest, smartest woman in wrestling, smartest person in wrestling, it doesn't take a genius to go, did you say the name was Retaliation? Yeah. Don't know why, but something's telling me I don't want to be part of this group. But no, listen, she's obviously got her reasons. There was apparently talk of bringing someone else up from NXT, not knowing who. There was discussions, but they are not going to do that right now as far as Fightful knows. And the plan is to just keep it as the 5 people that we've got. So Mustafa Ali, or Mustafa Ali as he
Mustafa,
which I do like. I do like the way that he's doing that now. Dijakovic. I'm calling them by their names. Dijakovic, Dio Madden, Shane Thorne, and Mia Yim. That is the five. So no Mercedes.
Whoa. Who's Shane Thorne?
I'm not calling him Slapjack because I will want to call him Slapnuts.
Anyway, before I give the BS-ometer out, let's stick with Fightful and talk to me about Matt Riddle.
Yeah. So, quick note: this is going to contain a spoiler for Raw.
Spoiler.
So we're going into the spoiler room. If you guys don't want to know the spoilers for Raw, feel free to click away and come back in about 2-3 minutes. So we'll give you a 3-second warning. 3, 2. CM Punk returns on Raw tonight.
That wouldn't be Matt Riddle news, though, would it, though, mate?
To feud with Matt Riddle.
Come
on. So Matt Riddle, or Riddle, as he's now known, we should call him, is reportedly going to be part of the Raw Survivor Series team. There is a match tonight on Raw for Elias, Jeff Hardy, and Riddle. They all lost their matches against Sheamus, AJ Styles, and Keith Lee. So they are all going to be part of a last chance match that WWE likes to do, and Riddle is scheduled to win that match. It's sort of believed to be coming from his match with Sheamus, which Vince was high on. So potentially this is going to be the start of a push, famous last words, for Riddle on Raw, which could be interesting. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, that's the end of the spoilers. So yeah.
And just a little bit of news to wrap up here. Ben Davis is right. You guys have seen that Tony Chimel has been released. Shame to see. It's a big shame because I associate the SmackDown 6 and that era with Tony Chimel making those announcements. And like for anyone who knows or has ever listened to kind of backstage podcasts, whether it be Bruce Pritchard, JR, Tony Chimel was at the butt of a hell of a lot of jokes in WWE and was a big personality backstage. So yeah.
If there was a crowd at Mania, they would have got him in for Edge.
I think they would have. You know, he's like synonymous with Edge. So, as I say, it reminds me of a very, very fun time of the early 2000s on SmackDown. Tony Chimel, and he's been there for such a long time. So, man, yeah, gutted for him. What a legacy, though, man. You know, over a couple of decades in WWE. So, fair play to the guy. Made a great living.
Yeah, obviously, best wish to him. This came from PW Insider. Have reported some other releases as well. We won't obviously go into specifics. There's a full article on WrestleTalk.com that has got the releases as far as we know them from PW Insider. So yeah, best of luck to everyone that has unfortunately been let go.
Louis, can you do me your best Chimel of Edge, please?
It's a lot of pressure.
Come on.
How loud can I be? What time is it? Am I gonna wake people up?
The Rated R Superstar.
No, the Rated R Superstar.
I don't remember it being that high.
Oh, it was. Maybe not that high.
No,
but it was. There was a longer U part.
Yeah, the emphasis was right, sure, but I don't know if he would.
I should have loaded that up into the back end. We should have played that. That is poor from me.
I'm just trying to remember Tony Chimel going,
I'm clearly still going through puberty as much as I don't want to admit it, and my voice is breaking constantly.
There you go. But well done for stepping up to the plate nonetheless. Listen, let's do a hot take, and then we've got a few super chats to finish on. Let's see what we got in the chamber here. Flame Inc. has one for us, Lou.
Revolves around Dolph Ziggler. In my opinion, he is one of the most underrated wrestlers in WWE. He can sell, he can do a promo, he's good in the ring, but for some reason, Vince will not push him to the moon where he should be. One day he should stay as main champion, Universal or WWE champion for a good year just for his loyalty and athletic ability and promo skill and all that. Thanks, guys.
Flame Inc., you have found a friend in me. I am a big proponent of Dolph Ziggler. And I've had several interviews with him where I'll share with you guys, maybe on Twitter. You'll be easily find it on my YouTube and stuff. I've sat down with him a couple of times. And we've discussed this, how he was red hot, like 2012 to 2014. But Vince only ever saw him as a transitional champion, which is a crime because his work, his look, everything is there for him to be a top star. But unfortunately, WWE, he's so good at making other people look good, it's almost cost him. And I hate that theory, that notion. But unfortunately, from Dolph Ziggler's mouth, he's been told straight up, you're not going to be a champion for any extended period of time. I feel like, unfortunately, as much as I want to agree with your take, the boat has passed to make him the top guy now. And it's a shame because his pedigree is real. He can tie people in knots. He's got state records in amateur wrestling. He's legit. Don't think he isn't. His cardio is there. He's strong. He's technically gifted. Dolph Ziggler is actually more than people give credit for these days because of the way WWE has made you think about him. But when he was hot, like 5-6 years ago, he was red hot. After that Survivor Series, I believe 2014, he was literally piping, and WWE messed it up.
Yes, they did. They really did. It is catastrophic what they did because he is a top guy. But is this a hot take?
It's a good take.
It's a good take. It's one I agree with, but I don't think you'll find many wrestling fans that disagree. He's a fantastic worker.
It's a hot take in the sense that he said he should be champion for a year.
Yeah. I don't know about champion for a year. I think if you told me that in 2014, 2012, 2013, I'd probably agree. In this day and age, I don't know. It's kind of like that painting that we discussed earlier that has been defecated on. I don't know whether
weed on to begin with now.
Whatever.
Okay.
I don't know whether from years of horrendous booking that doesn't match his talent, I don't know whether fans would buy into a year-long run for Dolph Ziggler anymore. I don't think you've got that appetite for it amongst fans. I could see if that happened, if he beat Randy Orton, would you see the outrage on Twitter that you'd probably expect?
I'd like there to be like a Cleveland connection where Ric Flair's like his manager, because they're both from Cleveland, obviously. And, Dolph Ziggler just super serious, just stretches the crap out of people. That's what I would like.
Ric Flair from Charlotte? Or is that Charlotte?
I think he either
he's from everywhere.
Well, he loves Cleveland, so I'm assuming he is from Cleveland. Whether he's lived in, I don't know. Who knows? I need to look that up. But he's always in Cleveland, and there's a connection between Miz, Flair, and Ziggler that I've maybe misconstrued. Anyway, let's get to some super chats here. Injection 2K says they hinted at Paige and Dark Order on being the elite today. I haven't actually called it being the elite today yet.
Very funny.
But
so, that bit during Serena Deeb's media call?
Yes.
Where there was clearly a Being the Elite segment being filmed. And there was literally, for people that haven't seen it, she's talking about like the state of the women's division. And you can just hear behind her like chanting really loudly, F Hangman Page. And she's trying to keep a straight face. And they had that at the end of Being the Elite today, which was interesting. But I don't know how they hinted at Page and Dark Order when they were saying F Hangman Page.
Well, I mean, I don't think he needs Dark Order, but I'm not totally against it if it's done right, which I would trust AEW to do at this point. But I don't think they specifically need that. Matthew Ledesma, how you doing, my friend? Hey, Alex, who do you want to be the next TNT champion? Don't think he cares what you think, Lou.
No, can't blame him.
No, it's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of people that I feel could do with the benefit. Like, I would quite like Lance Archer to come back around and get what he should have got the first, like the Justice thing where he should have got it, then he does get it. Miro is someone who clearly needs a story in AEW right now because they've signed him because of his talent, but he doesn't really have anywhere to go because the main event scene is already mapped out for X amount of, whatever. Wardlow is another guy that I'm really high on, that I think could do a great job there. Sammy Guevara. There's a load of guys.
There's an obvious answer that you're missing. Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it. I think he's going to be busy with Puck anytime soon.
There's a bit of complications with that, though. Is he actually in the States?
I didn't get that vibe from Tony Khan, but I did get the vibe that they did the promo for a reason.
Yes.
So they obviously believe he's going to be there soon, but he isn't yet. Matty, the hot Scot says the rates are superstar. Yeah.
Superstar.
Wow. Louis is the guy. Christopher Jazzcat, he's at it again. Ziggler should have followed Cody to the Indies. You're not wrong. I actually think he would have tore it up in Japan and whatnot, and he'd be a big star in AEW right now, probably.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Tyler Woodward, another good friend of the show. Tag team wrestling has never felt like this in a long time. I can't remember the last time tag team wrestling has felt this beeping good. Yeah, I mean, especially in AEW, right? Like, I would be hesitant to say that about WWE because I feel like both divisions are pretty shallow on SmackDown and Raw, and even in NXT, it's been much better than it is. But in AEW right now, they can't miss. You put Jurassic Express out there, you're going to get a good match. SCU, you're going to get a good match. Private Party, there's so many good teams.
On that note, a bit of news that has come out during this show.
Okay.
So AEW has announced and then cancelled a title match. So they announced that Young Bucks would be defending their tag team titles against the team of Top Flight, who are a team that have been doing some work on AEW Dark and who FTR...
There you go. I was about to say, FTR brought them in. There you go.
Yeah, they name dropped them in my interview with them. And I'm sure they have with many of them, said they handle things in the right manner. But so AEW announced it, and Figure 4 Online have since reported. We were told that the AEW initially announced a tag title match between the Young Bucks and Top Flight. That match is not happening. No reason was given other than the announcement was made prematurely, but the match could be made in the future. As of right now, they'll be featured in a video package on the show. So seems like there could be something in the works for something down the line. They've clearly got plans for this Top Flight team. I was told, and I quote by Dax and Cash, couldn't remember which one it was, they received some good news. Whatever good news means for Top Flight. I'm sure we can all guess and speculate.
Yeah.
Make very educated guesses. But it's definitely interesting to note that even you get that match from just seeing a clip of Top Flight and one of their dark matches, how good they are and how much potential they've got. It's exciting. So with AEW, as you say, they could put out any combination of tag teams and they can't miss. Yeah,
absolutely. On that note, that's brought an end to our show, Louis. We've covered a lot of ground tonight, and of course, we'll be back tomorrow. This same tag team, Alex McCarthy and Louis Dangoor, will be on your screens. And of course, we can be in your ears too if you want to catch up on podcasts. I've told you where to get it. Don't make me say it again, guys. Well, I will. Spotify, Acast, Apple. You know the deal. So you can catch up with us anytime. You've been great tonight. I love the super chats and the opinions flying in the comments tonight.
We had a busy chat tonight. I can't remember
very
the last
busy.
time the chat was this busy, which is fantastic.
I'm going to go back and read that stuff. So hopefully no one has buried us too hardly. And my ego can get to sleep tonight.
Look at him.
Well, I kind of want him to win.
So do I.
I mean, if he doesn't, he's set himself up for a terrible fall because he's the fat guy.
He is. He's fat guy or fact guy?
Fact. I'm the fat guy right now. I'm sitting at about 16 stone. It's killing me.
Don't even talk to me about it. But no, Tempest, good luck. You've got the Wrestling Daily behind you for this one.
Yes, and thank you for the hot take tonight, Flame Inc. as well. Enjoyed that very much. And to you guys, obviously, in the comments and the super chats. We will see you tomorrow back at the regular time of 8 p.m. Until then, thanks for stopping by, fellas, guys and gals. Have a